everyone, welcome back to my channel.
Don't you wanna have fun, fool around someone?
My name's Tamika, and today I'm actually going to be doing a discussion video. This is a video that was requested by my members. So Morgan actually requested this. She wanted to kind of know the difference between taboo and dark romance, and I feel like that is a very easy thing to confuse. The difference between taboo and dark is hard because there's a lot of overlap between the two genres, and as someone who reads a lot of dark and a lot of taboo books, I feel like I can kind of give like a good perspective of like what the differences are and, you know, where the overlap really is. So let's start out with what is dark romance. Dark romance is honestly anything with darker themes that is a romance. So these are books that have very dark topics or have questionable content in them. These are things like dub-con, non-con, consensual non-consent. Even though that's not necessarily dark, that's more of a taboo. Some BDSM can fall into this, but BDSM normally falls more into a taboo category. A taboo category. Dark romance really focuses on the couple and them not being the greatest for one another. These are toxic characters, toxic relationships, things that you are not comfortable with and you would not want to be in yourself. So I kind of like to describe dark romance as anything that is not a healthy relationship can fall into dark romance. This can be stalkers, kidnappers, captor-captive situations. Literally anything like that is considered dark romance. There's a huge variety of things that are in this subgenre, but those are just a couple things, and I can go more in depth with the different tropes here in a minute. The thing with taboo is more of the characters being together is not the issue. That is not the thing that is really keeping the characters apart or why you wouldn't want to root for the couple. So with dark romance, you really aren't supposed to root for those two to be together because they're either not good people or they're morally gray. But with a taboo romance, you're not supposed to root for them to be together because of a taboo reason to make that relationship frowned upon. So this kind of is where the overlap happens. Things that are strictly taboo can be considered student-teacher, incest, BDSM. These are things that could be considered taboo to other people. So maybe you're not 100% comfortable sharing that you're into BDSM with people. That is something that people are kind of like, weird, no. But also there's people who are completely fine with it. But then there's also the situation of like incest that is something that people are gonna be like, what? Because, you know, that's a weird thing to, you know, to do, to be in a relationship with another family member. So that's kind of where the difference between them. You have the characters they shouldn't be together, and then we have the characters who shouldn't be together because of societal reasons or ethical reasons. They do overlap in places because captor-captive, you shouldn't fall in love with your stalker or your kidnapper. You shouldn't fall in love with a serial killer. These are things that can really fall in the line and really kind of blur that boundary because there are taboo tropes such as captor-captive, stalker, serial killer, blood play. All of those things can be considered taboo because anything that is considered out of the norm, anything that is not your typical standard, it could be considered taboo. And whereas with dark romance, anything that is not your typical standard could be considered a dark romance. Honestly, a lot of the different tropes and the different subgenres within this is all based on personal preference. It's kind of hard to really get a exact pinpoint definition of the two different genres, but the two main things that you need to take away is that the dark romance is something that is going to be affecting those two characters and why you shouldn't be rooting for them. And then the taboo is something that is going to be why you really shouldn't root for those characters because of ethical or moral reasoning. Not because it's unhealthy, but rather because it's not ethically okay. The definitions are very personal to each person, and I feel like it's very hard to like give a pinpoint answer of this is taboo and this is not. I personally am someone who reads on the darker end of things and on the more taboo end of things. So I do tend to gravitate a little more to the darker side, and I find some things less taboo than others. Personally, I don't think age gaps are taboo. However, there are a lot of people who don't like age gaps who find that kind of taboo. And if I was going to be giving you a transition point of this is where I think you should start with a taboo romance, that is usually where I like to like slide you in, because I personally do not think that that is taboo at all, but some people do have issues with that and don't like it. I personally would say that that is the very, very end of the spectrum, and I don't even consider it part of it just because of the way that I read. So again, these are very personal definitions to each person. I can just give you kind of like an idea and a general kind of definition to kind of get you started on developing what your own personal definition is. Some other things with like romance is there some coercion? Like, are they forced into a situation but they aren't technically forced? That can be considered dark. That can be considered an unhealthy relationship or an unhealthy situation to be put in, whereas it's not the same as like a stalker. So again, that's something that it's not that dark for me. I don't find that dark. That would not trigger me, but that is a good entry point for someone who really doesn't read a lot of dark romance. I wanted to just go ahead and put this out there because I am planning on doing 2 recommendation videos. I will be doing a guide to dark romance and a guide to taboo romance, because I really feel like it's hard to put a definition on what is dark, what is taboo, and it's easier to give you a recommendation list of this is where I think you should start, this is kind of mid-tier, and then if you want to go really dark, here's where you need to go, or you want to go really taboo, here's where you need to go. So I do plan on doing 2 more videos where I do kind of give an in-depth guide on taboo and dark romances. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and stick around. Thank you, Morgan, for suggesting this video idea. I am so happy that I'm finally doing this on my channel. The other 2 are also requests from Morgan. She also wanted the two guides, so you can thank Morgan for that. If you're still here, leave me some chain emojis down in the comments, and I will chat with y'all in my next one. Bye, everyone.
Don't you wanna have fun? Don't you wanna have some fun?
Yeah, his baby said that they don't got a future like that.